Hello, Deep Six Wrestling fans. It is your host, the glorious Robbie Rotten, and this episode of Glorious or Rotten is going to focus on NXT Takeover Toronto, which took place tonight, August 10th, 2019, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And it was a great show, and we're going to go over all the matches with some reviews and reactions of mine. And first up, we had the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the champs, the Street Profits, and the challengers, the Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. This match kind of started a little awkwardly with some chain wrestling between Dawkins and O'Reilly, but I don't know. Dawkins is definitely the weak link of the Street Profits and definitely the weak link of this match. So I think his involvement in the match held it back a little bit. Just ask Ryan the Indie Nerd about that. He loves Angelo Dawkins. Absolutely loves him. Just talk to him on Twitter. Just mention Angelo Dawkins. He loves him so much. This was a good match. They did a lot of cool things, but most of that was done by, Ford for the Profits and then both guys in the Undisputed Era. I definitely see Dawkins as the Jannetty to Montez Ford's Shawn Michaels. But still, they did a lot of cool things. And they made this work. It was a solid title match. But again, I've seen a lot of much better matches on TakeOver, especially with the Undisputed Era involved. So, solid action. The Street Profits retain the titles after Dawkins hits a couple of spears, one on each of O'Reilly and Fish, and then Ford hits a frog splash through, it was a pretty good portion of the ring, probably 3/4 of the ring, and hits O'Reilly for the pin and the win, and the Street Profits retain. And they're a good team, don't get me wrong, so this was fine. I just think it's weird that they're kind of on the main roster as well right now, but it's fine for what it was. Solid opener, but I've seen much hotter openers on takeovers and much hotter matches, so it was just good. It wasn't anything spectacular, just kind of there. Second match of the night was Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, and they had some animosity between them because Io had her title matches against Shayna Baszler, and the final one was in a steel cage. Candice came out to help to make sure that Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke didn't get involved, and Shirai ended up losing, and then after the match, Io just snapped and beat up her friend LeRae, and we got Io as a heel now, and let me tell you, I love her as a heel. Her facials are great, her heel work in the ring and out of the ring are fantastic, and it just really works. I was kind of surprised by that because possibly the language barrier could be a little bit of an issue, but they've been showing her promos in Japanese, but with English subtitles, so that kind of works out. I don't mind having to read subtitles. I usually use them on Netflix and stuff, too. So I guess maybe I'm a freak, but I think it's fine. And just everything else about her is great. She's got new music. It sounded really good. And just her whole vibe is changed now. It really works for me. And this match was fantastic. These two had great chemistry. And I always enjoy when two people have animosity and they don't start with like a collar and elbow tie up. Nobody's gonna just wrestle somebody they hate. They're gonna brawl, and that's how this match started. They were brawling all over. They brawled to the outside. Io hit a hit a suplex on the announce table on Candice like right off the bat, and Candice was hurt. So Io dominated early. Finally, Candice starts to come back, and they have a really good back and forth match. And these two really proved why they're two of the top women in NXT and in the whole company right now. And it was just great. Much better than the first match. And one of the better TakeOver matches of the year, in my opinion, actually. There's one spot where Candice LeRae hit a tornado DDT suicide dive. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, Candice ends up kicking out of Io's moonsault, and then Io just freaks out and beats down Candice a little bit, and then locks in I think they called it a Koji clutch, something like that. It was really brutal looking submission move, and Candice passes out, and Io Shirai gets the win in an excellent match. Uh, I I don't watch NXT TV very frequently, so I don't really follow the rivalries so much. I see them kind of in the packages, so I wasn't sure what to think. The package was well built, and the rivalry looked like it was really good. But this really, really worked. This match was fantastic, and it told a good story, and I'm very interested to see where Io goes going forward. So, absolutely a glorious from me. Match was great. Io's great. Candice did great. Everything was fantastic about this. Uh, then, in between the next match, we had Matt Riddle come out, and he just kind of called out Killian Dane, who I guess he's going to feud with. And Dane came out through the crowd, and they brawled around ringside. Security tried to separate them, and both of them just kept beating up security. And they brawled up the ramp, and eventually it got to a point where Dane took control, and he, I guess, slammed Riddle and a security guard through two tables, like off the stage, as he was running with Riddle, and he like clotheslined the security guard. Came with him, so that was kind of funny. It's fine for what it was. Get Riddle on the card because he's one of the most popular stars in NXT. So to get him on the card and to have him do something, that's fine by me, especially with a guy like him. Next up, we have the NXT North American Championship triple threat match between the champion Velveteen Dream and his challengers Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. And Dream came out, well, first they had the Mountie music play, and a bunch of people dressed as the Mountie come out. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is so funny. Dream's going to come out as a Mountie. It's going to be great. And then this random weird rap song started playing, and they like tore off the Mountie gear, and it was just these dancers in like Toronto Raptors jerseys, and they had like the Toronto Raptors NBA Championship 2019 thing on the screen, and it just ruined the whole thing for me. It was so stupid. Who cares? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't like basketball, but this ruined the whole moment for me. And you know what? It's not because of that. Because I talked to Just Pat and Ryan the Indie Nerd, who I watched this show with, and both of them did not enjoy this either, and they love basketball. So it was just stupid. It kind of just took me out of the moment. Then Dream ended up coming out dressed as the Mountie, which was cool, but it would have been so much cooler if they never did the basketball thing, because it just kind of took me out of the moment. And I was legitimately confused, like, what is going on? So, that you never want that. And then, of course, when the bell rang, this was really good. All three guys are fantastic, and it was a little different from your typical triple threat, because all three guys were involved in a lot of things, which is always good. I hate the old formula of two guys just fight while the other guy lays on the outside. That didn't happen a lot in this match. All three guys were involved. They had a lot of good spots. There was one where Roddy did a backbreaker using Pete Dunne to slam him onto Velveteen Dream's back. It looked brutal. There's another spot where Roddy was running the ropes, and he kept hitting both guys repeatedly with like these nasty like elbow shots while they were up on the ropes, and he was just running repeatedly. It looked so painful. Pete Dunne got his typical finger break spots in that always look painful. And Dream is just the most charismatic man in NXT, one of the most charismatic people in the entire company, and a future megastar. Great match. A lot of good stuff throughout. Dream retains the title by capitalizing when Roddy hits the end of Heartache on Pete Dunne, and he throws Roddy out of the ring and gets the pin before Roddy can break it up. So Dream retains, and he is still the NXT North American Champion. And I don't know what happens next, but I'm interested to see the next takeover. And the next takeover should be War Games, which is always one of the best ones of the year. So should be good. And yes, looking forward to that. I would give this a glorious. All three guys worked really hard. The match, everything worked. There was nothing that stood out as not good, other than the stupid Toronto Raptors thing. But whatever. Everything else was fantastic. Definitely great. Next up, we had the NXT Women's Championship match between the champion Shayna Baszler and her challenger Mia Yim. And Mia Yim came out with like these people on the ramp that were standing and kneeling, and they had bandanas and like hats on. I guess it was supposed to be like cool, but it just came across as really cheesy and lame to me. I don't know. I don't really get her character. I'm not really a fan of it. I mean, she's a solid ring worker, but I don't know. I don't really care about her as a performer too much. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of her. And, the match was alright. I would say it's definitely the weakest match of the night. One of the weakest, probably the weakest takeover match of the year so far, in my opinion. But I mean, that's not saying a lot because there's been a lot of excellent takeover matches this year. There hasn't really been a bad one, and this wasn't bad. It was still a solid match. These two worked hard. It's just it was really hurt because the crowd was dead because they'd just seen two absolute barn burners before, and this was just in a tough spot of following them up. Shayna's like arm stomp thing always looks vicious. Like, it's gross. Every time I see it, I cringe because it just looks like it's absolutely breaking their arm, breaking their shoulder, breaking their elbow, whatever. It looks disgusting. And she used it here, and Mia sold it throughout, and then Mia actually got a little comeuppance, and she was able to hit it on Shayna. And Shayna sold it for a little bit. She couldn't really lock in the Kirifuda clutch. But instead, she was able to put Mia away by making her tap out to like a triangle choke with her legs instead, while she sold her arm, and Shayna retains, and her reign of terror goes on. She's been champion for like 50 years now. I can't even remember the last time she was not champion. I don't know. I do actually remember. It was when Kairi Sane was champion last year. I only remember that because I was there when Kairi Sane won the Women's Championship at the NXT Takeover New York last year, or Takeover Brooklyn 4? I think it was 4. That was a fantastic match too, but I digress. Solid match, but nothing special. Shayna's had much better, and I assume Yim's had better as well. So it was okay for what it was, because it's really going to cleanse the palate for the main event. And finally, we come to the main event, the NXT Championship match between Adam Cole and Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Takeover, Johnny Gargano, in a 2 out of 3 falls match. The first fall is a regular wrestling match where there, anything typical normal wrestling match, just countouts, DQs apply, pins and submissions, all that stuff. The second fall is a street fight, so anything goes. And the third fall, if it comes to that, is a steel cage match where you cannot escape, and there are weapons just placed all throughout the match on the top, just taped to the wall, or not taped, like zip tied to the walls, and there's barbed wire across the top of it. It looks pretty much like the Ambrose Asylum, but it's awesome. Like, it's really cool. Not what I was expecting. I'm not a big fan of steel cage matches, but this is fine. I have no issue with this. Please go watch this match. I'm going to go into some detail about it, but if you don't want to hear that and you want to experience it, I actually suggest that you pause this right now and you go watch this match before I go any further. So, anyway, this was just... They had a really good exchange early. I mean, they have the storytelling ability because they've had so many matches together that they know exactly what each other's going to do, so they counter each other really well early on. And they just have tremendous chemistry with each other. There's great psychology throughout. These two are both fantastic ring workers, fantastic wrestlers, fantastic sports entertainers, just great at everything they do. Just great. Cole brings a chair into the ring, and since it's the first match and disqualifications apply, the ref takes it away, and as he's going to go throw it outside, Cole takes advantage of the ref being distracted and low blows Johnny. But Johnny kicks out at 2. So Cole's frustrated. But Johnny takes control again, and Johnny's angry that Cole did that. So he goes out of the ring, and he's confident that he can do this. So he gets the chair and he hits Cole. So Cole takes the first fall by disqualification, and we move on to the street fight. And then Johnny continues to beat Cole with the chair, even throws it in his face and hits him outside. And then they brawl throughout the crowd, and just great stuff. Johnny takes a selfie with a fan, and he does some high fives, and finally Cole takes it back, and they get back into the ring, and they just destroy each other. This match, they just destroyed each other throughout. I can't even tell you how many scary spots I saw that made me cringe. But man, eventually Johnny is going to take the second fall by hitting a lawn dart on Cole with the chair placed in the corner, and he throws Cole into the chair, and then he locks in the Gargano escape, and Cole taps out. And then the steel cage is lowered. And this is where things get really crazy. All kinds of weapons. There's kendo sticks, there's chairs, there's fire extinguishers, there's tables, there's a ladder, and everything's used. There's another bag that has pliers and brass knuckles and chains in it. Oh my god. It's just crazy. They did everything you could possibly expect. Panama Sunrises, there are at least 3 of them, which are brutal moves. One was from the top of Cole dropped from the top of a ladder and did one. Then Gargano hit another one on Cole from the second rope, which was nasty. Probably the cringiest spot in the whole match. Cole was on the top rope, and Gargano did a tornado DDT type thing, and spiked Cole's face into the top of a chair, the chair back. The chair was standing up, and it was the back of the chair. It was just, I saw it, and I was legitimately actually worried for Adam Cole. It was oh man, that probably didn't feel good. Oh man, that was brutal. But Cole was okay. He kicked out of the pin and ended up being all right, thankfully. Hopefully he doesn't have a concussion from that or anything, but it was really nasty. The two just kept going. They kept brawling and destroying each other. And finally, we come to the finish where the two men climb up. Cole climbs up the cage after Gargano climbs up a ladder. And they're both on what's a metal table on the top of the cage. And they both just push each other and fall through 2 tables set up in the middle of the ring. Only one of them broke, but it's okay. It didn't even matter. And Cole ends up being in the better position and puts his arm over Johnny for the 1, 2, 3, and retains his NXT Championship. And what a match this was. They went all out for nearly an hour. I believe the match time had to be at least 45, 50 minutes. And absolutely, absolutely, absolutely a glorious for me. One of the best matches of the year, hands down, possibly the match of the year. And they've had 3 matches this year, and I've probably said that about all of them. But these two are just special together. You can't take chemistry like that for granted. It's insane. Please watch this match if you haven't. Yeah, I can't really say anything else about it. Overall, I really enjoyed this takeover. 3 great matches, 2 matches that were solid. You can't go wrong there. You can't really complain about that. And I think SummerSlam's going to have a tough time topping that main event, especially. But we'll see. I'm going to give the show a glorious, and I want to thank you all for watching. I want you guys to go subscribe to us here on YouTube, like and comment on our videos, and also go like us on Facebook at Deep Six Wrestling, go follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling, and most importantly, have a glorious day.